Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel, and in this video I'm going to tell you about one of the best kept secrets in the classic guitar market. Today we're going to look at a couple of Strat type models from the Vintage Guitars brand. Okay, so Vintage Guitars, so these are like from the 50s and 60s? Okay, well, we're going to talk about the name in a minute here, but just to start off with, just take a good look at these guitars. So Vintage sent me these, and there's actually a third guitar which we're going to check out in another video. But overall, I think these are the kinds of guitars you get when you're not paying for the name on the headstock. These guitars are in the $500 to $700 range, depending on the model you get. And I've been playing these for a couple weeks now, testing them out, and to me these are totally gig-ready guitars. And when I say gigs, I'm not talking about your garage, no offense to you punk guys out there, but these guitars have nothing lacking for a professional level player. And the reason I think these guitars are so important today, and part of the reason I wanted to make this video and talk about this brand, is these guitars really sort of fill the gap left by other companies that make similar guitars, where those other companies have sort of priced themselves out of that working man's budget price range. It's that range where you've got a little bit of money to spend and you're serious about the instrument you play, but at the same time you don't have an extra $1,000 laying around to spend on a guitar, and even that guitar, that $1,000 guitar, you might have to make a few changes or upgrades to it. I think for a lot of people, the prices in the past 2-3 years that guitars are going for now have just become unreasonable. And I think that's where these guitars come in, because you're not paying for some super famous name on the headstock, you're getting a much better value. And I think you're getting an equivalent guitar that would normally cost you $200, $300, maybe $400 more than what these are actually sold for. Okay, now let's go over some specs here. And then I want you guys to hear what these sound like, because especially with these pickups they have, I mean, these guitars sound fantastic. But let's go over some specs here. So this is the Vintage V6 in the Firenze red color. It's got an American alder body, of course, a maple neck, maple fretboard. It's got the skunk stripe on the back there. 22 medium jumbo frets, and these are finished very, very nicely. No sharp fret ends. I mean, they're carefully finished and polished frets. Also, it has a 10-inch radius on the fretboard, and up here we've got a set of the Wilkinson Easy Lock tuners, and that really brings us to the hardware and the electronics. And this guitar is just loaded with Wilkinson stuff. First, we've got the Wilkinson bridge. It's got steel saddles. It's got a big sustain block, rather, on the back of the bridge. Also, this has the push-in arm that's adjustable, which I have around here somewhere. I'll make sure I get it out for the demo. And then the pickups, obviously these are all single-coil pickups, but this is a matched set. It's the Wilkinson WVC, I think that's Wilkinson Vintage Coil pickups, Alnico 5 pickups. Just wait till you hear this thing, but let's also go over the specs on the other guitar. Now this has the, they call it the distressed finish. A lot of people would refer to it as a relic. And kind of similar, the bodywood on this one is poplar. Then it's got the maple neck, rosewood fretboard, of course, with the same 22 frets. Again, the Wilkinson Easy Lock tuners, again, that same Wilkinson bridge. And these two pickups here are going to be the same. And then we've got, of course, a big chunky humbucker in the bridge position, also a Wilkinson humbucker, and which I love. I always love to have a humbucker in the bridge position. And honestly, I chose these two guitars because they're kind of similar, but obviously one is, all glossy and shiny and new, and the other one has the distressed or relic look, and like it has the satin back of the neck, which I really like. But that's, this is basically, if you go to their website, they've got a bunch of these shiny new ones, and then they have a whole bunch that have this distressed relic look. Now, these ones are a little bit more expensive because the relicing, takes extra labor and that kind of stuff. But obviously, these are just two examples, and they have a ton of different color options and that kind of stuff. Okay, so there's a lot more to talk about with these, but I want you to hear these guitars before we go any further, so we'll go ahead and get into the demo. Now, real quick, guys, as always, if you enjoy checking out cool new affordable guitars and also staying up on all the latest news in the guitar universe, and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll run through both of these guitars. You know, they do have some different sounds between them, and I want you guys to hear everything. I'm going to use my Fender GTX 100 amplifier for the demo. And yeah, let's go ahead and plug these in and listen to these tones. So a huge thing I love about these guitars is the variety of tones that's in both of these guitars. The difference between the humbucker and then the neck pickup and then that middle pickup, there were, you know, three totally different tones. It almost sounded like three different guitars. Now this one here, we've got all single coil pickups, so I think the difference is not quite as pronounced. But there's just something about this tone where the sort of Strat tone that you think of, right, when you hear a Strat, this guitar just sort of exaggerates those characteristics. So it takes the Strat sound and it makes it sound really Stratty. Try the center position on this one here. Okay, now let's check out a little clean playing. Woo! Okay, let's check out the other one. Oh, listen to that. So the other thing is the trims on these guitars are much better than I expected. Not that I expected them to be bad, but basically, you know, in my school of thought, I always go with a Floyd Rose if I'm going to have a trim at all. But these actually work really well. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room here with these guitars. Let's see. Vintage. Vintage guitars. What a terrible name for a guitar brand. It's like if you had a band and you called the band Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay? And then you would have shows and it would be Neil deGrasse Tyson live at 7:30, and everybody would show up to listen to the astrophysicist, and they'd be like, this isn't what I wanted, this isn't what I came for. The name or the term vintage guitars already means something else. It means old guitars that are like collectible, right? And no offense to these guys, but vintage guitars as a term is much more popular and well known than vintage guitars, the guitar brand. And so, like, if you didn't have a direct link to find these guitars, you wouldn't be able to find them, because if you go do a Google search and you type in vintage guitars, you know, you get like a 59 Les Paul. If you're on like Instagram and you're, you know, searching hashtags, hashtag vintage guitars, same thing. You're not really going to find these guitars. Even if you search for like vintage guitars brand, right? It's going to be like, oh, you mean like Epiphone or Gretsch, you know, an old company, a vintage guitar brand, that must be what you're looking for, right? Even just through word of mouth, if you're just talking to somebody, let's say, you know, you're talking to another guitar player and you say, hey man, what kind of guitars do you play? And he goes, oh yeah, I play vintage guitars. Okay, so you have like a 50s Tele or something like that. It's like, no, you know, vintage guitars. I play vintage guitars. Okay, but which vintage guitar? Can you be more specific? And you would just go back and forth like that. It would be a communication disaster. You could even say a communication breakdown. And honestly, that is why I sort of think of this brand as a hidden gem of classic guitars, or the best kept secret of classic guitars, because they have all these really, really cool guitars. You know, a ton of different color options and different models and so forth. Very good prices, great hardware. These guitars play and sound amazing. But I think because of the confusion with the name, I think not that many people know about these guitars. So when I say best kept secret, it's not intentionally. Now, I know this would be a big ask because of the amount of work that would have to go into changing the name of this company, but couldn't we just change it to Vantage? Right? It's just one letter. Vantage guitars. I actually really like that name. Vantage guitars. They will give your playing an advantage. Obviously, changing the name of the entire company and all of the marketing material and all that stuff would be much, much easier said than done, but I don't know, it might be worth it in the long run. Now, the other thing I want to mention is you can get, as an option, you can get really cool gig bags for these guitars. They're made out of this really nice sort of thick canvas material. I mean, these gig bags seem like they could take a beating. You know, you could walk across the USA with one of these gig bags, no problem. But of course, you wouldn't need to walk because you are going to have a totally awesome tour bus with your name written in huge letters on the side of it. Yes, you will. Anyway, guys, I have to say, over the years, there have been a few people who have told me about this brand, and once I understood what they were talking about, not just old guitars, but the vintage guitar brand, you know, I looked at these and they did look really cool, and so I'm really happy that I've now finally had a chance to actually play these guitars, and I gotta say, I am impressed. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is a third guitar, totally different style of guitar, that I'm going to be doing in a separate video. That video will be coming out soon, maybe next week or the week after or something like that. So stay tuned for that. But guys, tell me, what do you think of these guitars? The company, you know, they have been around for a while, so there might be people out there watching who own some of these guitars. What do you think of the brand? What has your ownership experience been like? And also, what do you guys think about the name? Do you think I'm crazy, or do you think that has actually led to not as many people knowing about the guitars? I think really at the end of the day, these are just, like I said, no-nonsense guitars. They have already been upgraded, right? Because they've got all this name brand hardware and pickups and stuff. And again, you're not paying for a famous name on the headstock. You save a lot of money. I think you get a better value because of that. And yeah, I mean, these are, you know, I've been playing these for a couple weeks now, and to me, these feel and play like totally pro-level instruments. There's nothing I would really change about them. I don't think they have any weak points or anything like that. So, guys, vintage guitars, there you go. Of course, there's going to be lots and lots of links down in the video description below. I'm going to have a link, of course, for the guitars, and then also a link for my Fender GTX 100 amplifier that I used in the demo, plus my latest instructional video and all of my social media and all that good stuff. Guys, thanks a ton for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.